So I think my fellow Singaporeans all agree that national service is an enormous waste of time for the individual. Sure, national security and stuff is important, but for the individual male Singaporean, national service serves only to put us 2 years behind our female counterparts, while drawing a salary that renders us poor and destitute as opposed to our spouses. This is why I tried to make my 2 years of national service as productive as possible by learning skills, which I hope will add long-term value to my life. But with the plethora of options out there, how should one decide which skills to learn? Hi everyone, I'm Gaius, a Singaporean in my second year of national service, waiting to study at the National University of Singapore. And today, I intend to take you through my thought process when choosing which skills to learn in order to make my NS life as productive as possible. If you want to know which skills I chose, I basically picked video editing, personal finance, web development, data science, business, or financial analytics. Most of these I learned via books or Udemy and Skillshare. And disclaimer, I'm still in the middle of learning all of them, so don't ask me why the video quality is so poor or why my editing sucks even though I'm supposedly learning it. Anyways, let's get right into how I chose these skills. So the first thing that's obvious to consider is how useful the skill will be to your future. And when thinking about this, try not to limit your thinking to just whether or not the skill will look good on your CV, but also whether or not this skill allows you to pursue the ventures and side hustles that you might have in future. Try also to think about what sort of startups you might want to create and what sort of ventures you might want to pursue, because I've met a lot of adults who wish they could have a side hustle on the side or have start their own business in a certain industry, but they didn't spend time learning the skills required to do it. So I think learning a new skill should always be to prime yourself to be in a better position for your own future, not just prime yourself to get a job that pays well. So basically what I'm trying to say is think of what sort of startups and ventures you might pursue in future outside of your career and how the skill you choose to learn ties into it. So a few criteria you could consider is how in demand is this skill, how will I use this skill outside of work, and whether or not this skill will appeal to my future employers, because despite what I said, if it does appeal to your future employers, you're probably gonna be more motivated to do it because you see a direct reward. But of course, these are just a few of many ways a skill could be useful to you. Personally, I decided to pick up video editing and web development because I have a specific venture in mind that requires these skills for me to make a reality. And I decided taking on Python, business analytics, financial analytics, and data science courses because those could be useful to my career and future. That, together with coding, is one of the most in-demand skills at the moment, which makes these choices very appealing to me. But of course, individual motivations may vary. Sometimes having an interest in something is a good enough reason because a lot of times, like what you want to pursue outside of work would revolve around your personal interests. So it's likely that the skill you learn because you're interested in it, like you just find it fun, would be the thing you want to pursue on the side. And what this means to me is that learning something you're interested in just because you're interested in it is likely to position you better to do what you like for a living one day. So now the second thing you should consider is whether or not learning this skill plays to your unfair advantages. In other words, whether or not you are in a position where you are naturally disposed to excel in the said skill. The reason this is important is because when you're trying to pursue success, whether it's in the material sense or in some sort of philosophical sense, you want to pick the path of least resistance. What is the easiest way I can get from point A to point B? One example of this is not trying to become a pro basketball player if you're shorter than 170 centimeters. Sure, you can enjoy the sport and do it for leisure, but turning into a skill you can monetize is extremely unlikely. So if you're doing something like that, try to differentiate clearly, is this a skill I'm learning or is this something I'm doing for fun? Unless you're some sort of freak of nature, trying to become a pro basketball player at that height is very unlikely. It's very unlikely you'll be able to turn being good at basketball into an asset that you can monetize or an asset that will be useful to you in future. Basically, try not to go against the current or overly focus on a skill where the deck is stacked against you. Now the last thing to consider is whether or not there is something deterring you from learning the skill. So, is this an easy skill for you to learn in your present situation? So, if you're an infantry soldier who is staying in camp and you're trying to learn coding, but you can't bring your laptop into camp, and all you can do is watch YouTube videos without practicing coding at all, it's very unlikely you'll be able to pick up the skill easily or even become good at it. You want to pick a skill that your circumstances are accommodative towards. So what that means is that if you're an infantry soldier who is stuck in camp, perhaps going to the gym or like learning something that is less practice intensive will suit you more. So financial factors are also definitely real because many of the best resources to learn things are kept behind a paywall. Do try to use your NS benefits to the fullest. So NUS and NTU have courses that you can use ePrep credits for, and of course this is not a sponsored video, I have like 5 subscribers. So that is definitely worth checking out. If you don't know what ePrep is, basically the army gives you $350 worth of credits to upgrade yourselves, and Udemy is one of the places where they allow you to do so. I didn't know that, so I actually spent my money on a bunch of courses. The Udemy thing is a yearly subscription, and I think you can use it even after you ORD. So don't rush into it, take your time, choose a course that best suits your needs. Personally, I spend most of my time in camp reading personal finance books, which led me to save and invest my money. I think this is the single thing that has changed my life the most, and it's something I picked up while in camp. So even if you're an infantry soldier sitting there in camp thinking now, oh shit, I can't actually learn coding, that sucks, I want to encourage you to try and figure a way to be creative and to learn skills that benefit you long term anyways. Sometimes having constraints placed on you isn't necessarily a bad thing because it forces you to be more creative. So even if you don't have the optimal conditions to learn the things that you want to learn the most, try to be open to learning other things. Nonetheless, these are just a few things you could consider learning in national service, and I hope watching this video encourages you to go out there and try and make your NS life as productive as possible. NS sucks, we all know that, but it doesn't have to be a complete waste of your 2 years if you do something with that time. And by that, I don't mean like, what your incheck tells you, spend more time trying to be a good soldier and it will benefit you long term. No, it doesn't. You need to be creative in order to find ways that allow you to be productive even though you are in camp most of the time. So yeah, all the best. If you enjoyed this video, do check out some of my other videos. I talk a lot about how being an NS sucks in all of my videos, so you can check any of the other videos out if you want to feel like somebody shares your pain. And yeah, I'll see you next time.